in Austria you say good afternoon, but in Egypt you say good morning, which means that you have fresh minds all through the day. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Dr. Mohammed Salem, for your personal presence. You have betrayed the prejudice everybody has about ministers, and that is that you don't take time to understand. When I saw you and the other ministers walking around Cairo ICT yesterday, I thought you are the perfect person to understand e-content. Because e-content is different than technology. Technology you can measure in terms of speed, power and performance. So it goes quick. But with e-content you have to engage your mind, your heart, your feelings, your identity, and that takes time. So while technology races ahead, we stay the same. And thank you very much for taking this time. I also say welcome and thank you very much to the Minister of Information and Communication Technology from Ethiopia, His Excellency Rebesim Imam Michael. I tried very hard. Thank you very much for being here. And I say also thank you very much to the chairman of ITIDA, who is our host here, Engineer Yasser El-Khadi. Thank you for joining us here. And obviously, Osama Kamal from Cairo Trade Fairs. Thank you for all this good work you and your team have done to host here the world's best content producers. The WSA is an initiative and not an organization. It's an initiative on a global scale triggered by the United Nations decision of the General Assembly in the year 2000 to interrogate the transformation of societies through the information and communication technologies. And this was done in two steps in the summit conferences in Geneva in 2003 and in 2005. And the focus from the very beginning was on access, on the issue of infrastructure and digital divide, recognizing that at the end of the second millennium, there were people living on the earth who had to walk 3 days to the next telephone booth. What Austria in 2003 contributed was that the idea was that if you build up the pipes, the issue becomes what is actually going through it and what is the value of the content which you have and you deliver. And so what I want to do is I want to take you through a short tour about that kind of mindset. And this mindset today, 10 years later, is more important than even then, because in the meantime, it is not just the Arab Spring which revolutionized social relations, but it's the mobile revolution. The penetration, you, the minister, said yesterday, in Egypt has reached 112%. In some other countries it's 170, 212, and others. And what we see is actually that we have in our own palms, in the hands, we have more computational power than what it took to put a man on the moon. And that is something which is absolutely incredible, but there's also revenge in terms of e-content of the mobile revolution. The small device is too little, too small, too tiny to actually engage in big thoughts. You can have short messages, you can Twitter, you can Facebook, and you can do a lot of other things, and you can short text, but it is not a productive device. So what we need to do is we need to use that platform, but also move beyond that. Within the United Nations framework, what is interesting and why United Nations is important to Egypt and to Ethiopia, to Malawi as well as to Ghana, to Austria as well as to Finland is because it creates an artificially level field between countries of different sizes. And in that sense, it allows a richness and diversity of content to turn up, which you would not see otherwise. Here, Today and tomorrow, you will see creative productions from Hungary as well as from India. And it's not the size which matters, but the creativity of the person. WSA, thanks to the good work of the team at the International Center of New Media, and I salute also Nora Wallach, who is the program manager for this, has a reach which is uncanny for an activity carried out by volunteers. We are in over 160 countries because it is a networking activity. It is that we take actually the power of technology to serve those who are really engaging in the creative use of it. And what we want to do is to deliver to you is not cash. It's not money. It's not the riches which you can count. But it's the networking in which you engage, the acknowledgement which you receive, and the honor of which you can be proud of. WSA, and this is very important also for our partnership both with Cairo Trade Fairs, international trade fairs, and also ITIDA, is a multi-stakeholder activity. It engages businesses, and I want to thank also the Egyptian Telecom for their support for us here. It engages businesses, but it engages also universities, research institutes. It engages multimedia professional organizations, the Internet Society, United Nations departments and organizations, governments, e-government agencies, and so on. And it's carried out, and I thank all those who join me on the board of directors, it's carried out by a volunteer board of directors. Our focus is on closing the digital divide, being realistic that in our lifetime we will not be able to completely do that, but to persistently narrow that divide and think this divide not just as an access divide, but as a cost divide. Because when I go to Western Africa, I realize that digital agencies in West Africa have to pay for 100 megabytes per second connectivity 20, 30 times what somebody pays in Central Europe. But there's also a skill divide and a usage divide, and finally also a content divide, and we need to get beyond that. The important aspect, however, is, and that is the focus of the World Summit Awards events, Dear Minister, now over the next 2 days, this is also to address the content gap. It is that there are no theories, there are no formulas, there are no master plans for content. The only way you can do and learn from it is by example from others, by trying to cooperate, imitate, improve, and optimize. And we want to bridge that kind of content gap. We are aware within the World Summit Award that the work people do who enter into the competition are actually building on top of the infrastructure created by the telecoms, the postal services, and thank you very much for being here, by all those people who roll out broadband, but what it needs actually is a knowledge infrastructure, and that is the basis for an inclusive society. So our categories in the World Summit Award mirror the various different kind of aspects of social life, from e-business to e-learning, from e-entertainment to e-science, from e-culture to e-health and e-government, and very importantly also for e-inclusion. When I arrived here, I was asked by many people, what is actually good Arab content? Don't we have a problem with the content? There's only 1% of content on the internet in Arab. And the issue is then turned around, and I'm asked, so what do we need to do in order to create Arab content? In order to go and understand what good content is that one needs to understand that content is always contextual. And if you're not engaging with the context in which you're living in, then you have, as such, a very hard time to develop content. On the engagement in terms of infrastructure and technology, what, for instance, the ICT Trust Fund of the Ministry has done is it has exactly taken into account the context of living of women in villages in order to actually create something which is called tabluta. And the tabluta is actually an uncanny combination of tablia and computer in order to make it easy for women who are staying at home to have actually contact and access to the internet and to e-content. Let me take this idea of the tabluta and put it into an American context. Take it out of an Arab village, an Egyptian village, and put it into Harvard University and a dormitory there, and then it looks like this. This is Harvard dormitory and a guy named Mark Zuckerberg standing there trying to understand exactly like tabluta did in terms of what is actually the thing which I want to do? What's the context in which I am? What is the need? And what he wanted to do is how to stay in touch with his friends, the friends which he had made while being at the university. And out of this, he created a company which has today, is going for an initial public offering, a greater value on the stock market than the Ford Motor Company, Caterpillar, Kraft Foods, or even Goldman Sachs. If you look at that in terms of Egypt, here you have a context where 2,500 years ago, an entire empire was resting on the strength of the natural resources in the context of this country. And when Europe got cut off in 600 after the birth of Christ, from this resource, Europe entered into the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages. We lost the means of communication in terms of cheap, easy to transport delivery of knowledge. And what this gives in the context of the social changes today in Egypt, it creates the perspective of combining actually empowering communities in the same way as Mark Zuckerberg did in terms of visiting friends. So what you can have is you can develop something called democracy plus papyrus in terms of a social innovation of how to use within the context of current day Egypt, current day North Africa, the new communication technology. So what is good Arab content? It is when you are taking into account those contexts and, as was said by Osama and also by others before, you're looking at actually the needs. If I can introduce to you something which is the lasting gift of the World Summit Award events here is to encourage you not to look and outsource something like your skills, your creativity and your mind, but to stick actually with what you are here, a bridge between Europe and Asia, connecting us to Africa. The presentations, dear Minister, over the next day and a half have a very specific aspect, and that is excellence in the use of the technology in order to create value for the users. Value for the users in terms of transforming learning, like for instance technology and civilization in ancient China, where which you will see here is digital content has not just the ability to engage users, but also to excite minds. And do so in ways which transform the limitations of hitherto media. Like, for instance, Nude Maya, where it takes actually a radio show of 22 years to build a digital archive, but to bring radio onto the internet and to develop this. Or the world of Habsburgs, something where you are basically taking down the walls of a museum and creating a completely new kind of experience for people who are interested in the history of Austria and its ruling family over many years. Another one is Render Farm from Finland, which shows actually what grid computing can do and what the benefits are for the public domain. Lastly, and this is a good context here, it's a unique context and a historic context, the ICTs allow, through digital content, to empower citizens. Empower citizens in terms of, for instance, monitoring what water exchange does, like the application from India, or in terms of sharing public data and demonstrating their usefulness, or integrating, actually, like e-annual report from Estonia, the wide range of government services offered by modern public administrations. Sometimes it becomes a critical issue to also stimulate economic activity, and the Tunisian Industry Portal is an excellent example in terms of how good design and also transparency is helping economic development. Lastly, Egypt is in a period of elections, and empowering India is a very, very good example of how to track democratic elections in terms of voting in stations and in various districts. And finally, DJID is a way of how to simplify, actually, public administration through the use of newest technologies. The last project which I want to show you is the wall. Here, citizens are engaged in a completely new kind of immersive experience to see what the past of the city and the community was, what the present is, and the future. Let me close with a very specific point on Egypt. What is good content? Good content is also when it meets specific needs. And WSA has been privileged to work with young people around the world who are addressing also the Millennium Development Goals of the United Nations with their ICT applications. The World Summit Youth Award is announced every year, and we have 6 categories. Out of the 6 categories, the minister, 18 winners, 3 per category, are selected every year from 700, 800, 900 registered. Out of the 18, last year, 4 came from Egypt. This is judged by an independent jury of young experts, and it shows you what the creativity of young Egyptians are with the technologies and creating something which is very, very powerful and transformative, but also very strong in terms of participation. Like, for instance, Sabatak, which gets young people involved in terms of anti-corruption and anti-crime. Kerner, where you have a very specific local platform in terms of social networking and social development. And 2 very important projects, Harassment, giving actually transparency to violence against women, and also Girls Only radio station, a publishing effort of a unique way where radio is the anchor for somebody who has actually then ventured out and also goes into print publishing and other forms of media creation. So good content requires a creative will and a strong cause. I'm happy, dear Minister, that we can deliver this to you here in Egypt, and I want to thank everybody for their participation. Thank you very much.
I hope it was not too short.
Thank you, Professor Brook. I would like to call our next speaker, Engineer Yasser Al-Qadi, CEO of ITIDA.
Mr. Brook, what a great presentation. What can I see after this presentation? Can I? Okay. Excellencies, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to have you here today, and please let me welcome you to Egypt. Egypt, a country with great potential, endless opportunities. The potential that I'm talking about will not be marred by the political instability or the current economic situation, because potential I'm referring to is as solid as the fabrics of this nation. It is the potential you can see in what we are celebrating today. We are celebrating minds, creative and innovative minds that do not give in to obstacles and create opportunities from every challenge they face. Egypt is no stranger to innovation and excellence in content creation. And as Mr. Peter was referring, by some of the big projects and the winners from the WSA, this is one of many examples and many cases that we do have here in Egypt. And today, we are determined not only to continue walking down this path, but also to simulate the innovative abilities of our youth to achieve economic gains and better serve our community. The innovation in content creation is a cycle that starts by discovering talents, defining areas of potential, and employing it to maximize the benefits. It is also a process that observes the needs of the society, marginal communities, and those who are yet to be empowered, the young and the youth that they need to be empowered in this country. The information technology revolution makes it possible to reach new frontiers and to devise means to create for the need of various segments within the society. In our quest to achieve this, we partner with a host of stakeholders, amongst of which is the WSA, or the World Summit Award. And we are very proud of this partnership, Mr. Brook, that will result in a mutual benefits and will help realizing a global dream to turn the UN WSIS targets on local content into a global action towards 2015. More importantly, is turning this local content into an economic value on one hand and a tool to achieve societal homogeneity on the other hand. In my capacity as the Chief Executive Officer of Information Technology Industry Development Agency, ITIDA, I am concerned with helping the IT community to gain maturity, achieve increased added value, and turning this into numbers that reflects the GDP growth every year. Partnering with organizations and the global initiatives like the WSA enables us to engage, interact with international players and help craft trends and solutions that would serve millions of people. The winners we are celebrating today, or tonight actually, did not only reach global content, but also improve the lives of millions of people through their innovation and creative solutions and applications. As our country is embarking on a new journey, our celebration tonight and today is a beginning of a new commitments to strategy that foster the innovation and creativity in content creation and encourages our huge talent pool to be equipped with the right set of skills to enter the global competitors and competition. We are very much aware of our competitive advantages, and on top of it, our qualified and trained and educated talent pool. Again, please let me welcome you all to Egypt, and I urge you to discover what makes it a country of unlimited opportunities. Before I leave the stage, I want to send my great appreciation and thanks for my colleagues who have made this happen, the WSA, Mr. Ahmed Yahya, Mr. Ahmed Sobki, Mr. Ahmed Rida, and from Trade Fair, definitely, Mr. Osama Kamal, Mr. Hussam Saleh, and Mrs. Amani Ghanem. Great appreciation to all of you, because you are all the team who have made this happen today. Again, looking forward for more talents, for more innovations from not just the Egyptians, but from people from the continent of Africa. Today, we are hosting some of the African countries and Nile-basin countries. We are looking to work all together, hand in hand, for next year, when we are announcing the new WSA Awards. Is not going to be just Egypt, but Egypt and other African countries as well. Last, I would like to thank you very much, and Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Yasser. I would like to call our distinguished speaker, His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Salem, the Minister of CIT of Egypt.
Good morning all. Your Excellency, Minister Debestine Gabriel Michael, Minister of CIT in Ethiopia. And let me say, my dear friend, Mr. Peter Brook, the Chairman of the World Summit Award, Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like first to give a thanks to Mr. Peter Brook, because he gathered us in an afternoon of Friday. I would like to thank as well Mr. Osama Kamal and his team, and I will thank again the teams that have been working hard from the MCIT. I would like to thank Dr. Hoda Baraka and her team. I'd like to thank Itida. I would like to name Mr. Soki especially for all what he did in the past weeks. I would like to thank the NTRA, the International Relationship, and Lobna. Where is Lobna? Yeah, okay, and the PR, public relationship. Really, it's an honor to be here today among this wonderful community. I do highly appreciate the World Summit Awards for its mission, its activities, and its achievements. Holding the WSA in Egypt marks how Egypt is back, how Egypt is ready to play its major role in the global ICT sector, based on the achievements in the fields of content creation, innovation, and creativity. Our resilient sector proved through the past months that despite all what have been happening in Egypt, maintain growth in all its sectors, like telco, IT, industries, innovation, capacity building, and everything. We do pay attention to creating an environment that fosters creativity, innovation, and to encourage the widespread use of technology among its various communities within the Egyptian society. We are well aware of the unlimited opportunities that can exist through the use of IT. These opportunities include reaching new segments of society, empowering numerous communities, and providing others with a chance to express their views and to be heard. Egypt was and will be always one of the greatest content stores of the world. And Mr. Brook, let me tell you, we have 2 mega projects that its plans will be issued maybe before June. We have the e-content part of the ePad mega project. We are speaking about tens of thousands of courses that will be issued. I'm speaking about more than 20,000 job opportunities that will be created. And last month I was in Qatar during the ITU conference in Qatar there, and I declared the initiative of the Arabic digital content. And here I'm speaking about tens of billions of dollars project, mega project that will last. So e-content is not only in our heads, but it's also in our hearts, as you mentioned. Ideas like Irada and Girls Only Radio Station can play the role of ambassadors to the world. The initiatives and the programs of the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology in Egypt and its affiliate bodies will always provide the needed support and guidance for these ideas. And to the winners, to our heroes today, that I can see them in front of me, I would like to tell you that there isn't anything better than 3 things. To be young, full of hope and will, and indeed you are all of these. To have an objective achieved, and your mission is accomplished. And to have a new challenge to work for. And this is exactly what I advise you to do. Let me wish you all the best and good luck to you all. Thank you very much.